considering that time in your life that you felt best in whatever category it is that we're talking about, diet, exercise, community, etc. And then implementing that now so that you feel really prepared for when you meet your ideal partner, and or when you re-meet your current partner, because we re-meet each other every single day, every single moment, we can start to understand what it is that feels best for us. How to prepare your heart for the love that you've always wanted. Well, if you're in a long-term relationship or you're not in a relationship and nowhere even close to being in one, this might be the perfect episode for you. In this episode, I discuss ways to prepare your heart not only for the perfect love, but for the perfect life, so that when you meet your partner, or if you're with your partner already, when you plan your future in the most perfect way, that you and your partner are compatible, you can live life together and in sync. And this is a beautiful time for me to talk about this, because I am currently preparing for the love of my life, my fiancé, Loa, to come back to me after we've spent I think 6 weeks apart now. And we do this periodically, it seems, in our relationship, is spend quite a bit of time apart, just based upon us being really busy teaching trainings in different parts of the world, and for various other reasons. And so she's been in Germany, I'm in Australia, she's coming back to Australia here, and we're going to spend much more time together as we plan to be here for the next year or so. And of course, it's been 6 weeks. That's a pretty long time to spend apart. And now coming back together, there's always this feeling of, what has this person been up to? Who is this person? How have they changed? How are we going to meet each other? And this is really cool for me to talk about for, people who are either in a long-term relationship, whether you've been apart or together the whole time. There's an opportunity to meet each other in a new way every day, right? And to plan for your future together in a new way that can start today. Also, if you are one of the people that is not in a relationship and you're like, I'm nowhere near being in relationship at this point, well, perfect for you to find a way to prepare for when you do want to be in relationship, to prepare for how you can maintain your own best life while preparing to meet someone. A lot of times people think, there's sacrifice in relationship. I don't know who came up with that, but for me, it's just bullshit, because we don't have to sacrifice anything. We can create a relationship where we feel so free, we feel so inspired to give and to receive. And if that is in your subconscious, that sacrifice is inclusive in relationship, and in fact, you feel that there has to be sacrifice in order to work. I've heard people say, marriage is all about sacrifice, and it blows me away that someone could even speak those words into their own subconscious and create this story around sacrifice being the key to success. So I just want to take that right off the table, and I'll speak a little bit more about it later on in the episode. But this process of preparing for a partner is beautiful. And whether you're together or you're apart or you're on your own, you can be happy on your own. right? And what does that really mean? Happy on your own. Well, for me, when Loa had first left, I was still here in Australia. She had gone back to Europe, and I had fallen into this pattern where actually I wasn't very happy. I was pretty lonely, and my habits and routines started to slip. I started to eat shitty food. I started to drink more alcohol. I was drinking by myself a lot of nights. I was in this process of, really feeling lonely. And, I was staying up late, and I was scrolling more on my social media than I would like to. My business wasn't really like fully rolling in the way that I wanted it to happen. And the realization was I was really abandoning myself. I was really abandoning my own values of, being on bed in time. Like that's a really simple one. But I wasn't following through with it. I was drinking more than I would like. I was eating shitty foods. Like these are things that are not in alignment with my own values. And so what ended up happening is I had to learn how to be on my own again. Right? I had to stop abandoning myself and start to live in the way that I would like to be met. As if I was dating myself. How would it be to live with myself? Is it late nights and drinking alcohol and eating pizza? No, that's not me. It's not the best version of me. That's not the happiest version of me. No, that's a shitty version of me. It's kind of a shadowy, lonely, hurt version of me. And, it took a little while of realizing, okay, there's some patterns, there's some habits in my life that really happen when I'm by myself, when I'm alone, when no one's looking, when no one's there to make dinner with me or have morning coffee or whatever it is. There was this quality of loneliness that I was starting to lean on, and it created a lot of pain in my system. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't who I know myself to be in relationship. And after spending more time on my own, I started to get clear on very simple things that made a huge difference. My routine being one of them. So now there's some non-negotiables that I've established over the past few weeks. One is a morning practice every day. So I drop into breath or yoga practice, or oftentimes both. And then I also have a 20-minute slot where I listen to binaural beats, which focuses the brain to have a 20-minute writing session. And I just write for 20 minutes. That's really important for me. I always feel great when I journal. It helps me process a lot of thinking and to get all of the noise up here into the world and manifest things into the physical world. And so that was another non-negotiable for me. Diet, like eating really routinely healthy. I love my diet now. I love my diet. I feel so good. I have my cacao, ashwagandha, and reishi chaga mushroom blend in the morning, shot of apple cider vinegar, and that just boom, gets me going. Really fires me up, especially the apple cider vinegar. It connects me to my belly, my guts, because you just feel the burn of the apple cider vinegar and all the wonderful microbes that are in there that are starting to dictate how your gut microbiome is relating back up to the brain in that gut-brain axis. And then I have my green smoothie. I have a ton of water. And in the evening, I always have, and that's kind of my morning breakfast routine that kind of gets me through till evening. I don't usually eat for most of the day, so it's just all liquids up until dinner time. And then dinner time, I'll usually have some sort of meat, or I have a lot more leniency around dinner time with what it is that I choose to eat, but usually some sort of protein and some carbs. And that might be inclusive of some meat, some vegetables, etc., etc. And that changes and varies day to day. So, I feel best on that. And I always like to think about the time in my life when I felt best in terms of my eating habit, or I felt best in terms of my physical practice, or I felt best in terms of my community and friendships. Taking those times that I felt best and then just grabbing, okay, what was it that I was doing? Okay, maybe I was playing sports. I felt really connected to my friends. Or maybe I was, having my morning routine with my coffee and my, smoothie every morning and not eating until evening time. And that, feels best for me. So considering that time in your life that you felt best in whatever category it is that we're talking about, diet, exercise, community, etc. And then implementing that now so that you feel really prepared for when you meet your ideal partner or when you re-meet your current partner, because we re-meet each other every single day, every single moment, we can start to understand what it is that feels best for us. And then there will be resonance between our partner, and they'll start to match and understand that and create a flow with that or around it. And what I mean by that is really we're not self-abandoning, right? Because logically, if we think about our best times in life, of course we would be applying all of those methods now. But somewhere subconsciously, something has told us to not apply those methods. Humans are pretty unreliable, even when we know what's good for us, but we choose not to do it. Smoking or exercise are two very common examples. We know smoking is not good for us, but a lot of people still choose to do that. We know that exercise is good for us, but a lot of people still choose not to participate in that. So humans can be unreliable, but what we can do is start to raise our level of awareness to understand these parts of ourselves. And once we understand them, there's not so much of having to do them. It's really just the understanding, the unraveling of the subconscious mind. And then we start to become more aware and subconsciously start to make better choices. Which, by the way, our subconscious is just running the show, right? It's making almost all of the decisions that you make in life. Your conscious mind is making a very small amount. So the practice is to just unveil more and more of the subconscious and bring it more into conscious awareness. And stop self-abandoning, right? Like, we know what's good for us. So making that decision to do what's good for us is going to support us, it's going to support our partner, or it's going to support us finding our future partner. And get curious for yourself. What are the non-negotiables, right? Because sometimes that can feel overwhelming, right? Let's face it. It's like, okay, so now how I feel best is I got to do a yoga practice and I got to run 10 miles per day and I got to do weight class and CrossFit and I got to go swimming. Like I felt best when I was doing every one of the, like, okay, we get it. There's 24 hours in a day. Maybe you can't get through all of those things, but just pick one that is bite-sizable. So 2 to 20 minutes, if it's 2 minutes of conscious breathing, or if it's 20 minutes of writing, just take 2 to 20 minutes and everyone can fit 2 to 20 minutes somewhere in their day and just implement that. What are the non-negotiables around that? And then implement them. Now, if you are with a partner already and some of these things are new or different than your usual routine, that's okay. It's okay so long as you claim those parts of yourself out of a place of self-love, right? You don't want to abandon yourself anymore. You want to step into this version of yourself that exercises, that's eating healthy, that's in community, That's, chasing after their dreams. So being in the process of that, it might be different than what you're currently living. And it might be different for your partner. But, if say you usually drive the kids to school every day, and now you've got to add 20 minutes in of breath work in the morning, and now you wake up earlier, and then your partner is like, okay, now my partner's getting up 20 minutes earlier, that affects me and my sleep. Well, just consider that this is your best life. This is your best version. And your partner will find a way to work either with that, maybe they'll join you for that practice, or they'll work around that, right? It doesn't mean that we have to do everything the same. I see this so often in clients and couples where, maybe the husband wants to, go on their family vacation and go hiking and go up this mountain, and the wife might think, well, I just want to lie on the beach and chill and, get a nice tan. Well, both are doable. You could go to a place that has mountains and ocean, and she can hang out on the beach and either by herself or with some friends, and he can go up the mountain and hike and explore. Don't let the difference in interest pull you apart. Actually, find a way to love and encourage those parts of each other to come out, right? Because we're always going to have different truths. And by the way, the hiking of the mountain, even if we just took that one example, we could hike a mountain in two different ways, right? The masculine in all of us likely wants to get to the top of the mountain, complete the goal, and do the hike. The feminine might want to take her time and look around and be immersed in the trees and the forest and the views and just indulge in the hike. She doesn't necessarily care about getting to the top of the mountain. She just wants to enjoy the experience and the pleasures of being in nature. And so acknowledging that likely, especially if we have a predominantly masculine and a predominantly feminine being, they're gonna have different interests. And that's okay. Allow for those interests to not only be present, but to be honored and celebrated. This gives so much freedom to the other to express and feel and enjoy life in the way that they want to enjoy it. So remember, if you have an interest or a goal or a dream that's slightly different or completely different than your partner, for that matter, allow for that to be there. Allow for that to be there. And celebrate it. Celebrate the partner's difference. Be curious about the partner's difference. This is how we start to create more freedom, more joy, more expression, right? We start to honor the self-expression of the other's interest. So it's important for you to get clear on what your perfect day is, what it's like to date you for a day, because you're with you all day. So whether you're in partnership or you're on your own, get clear on what's important for you to experience your perfect day. What would that look like? What does it involve? And allow for your partner to find or match that frequency. So again, I want to just come back to this piece around relationship having to be sacrifice. And knowing that you don't have to give anything up in relationship. This idea that relationship is all about sacrifice is bullshit. Relationship is all about giving and receiving. And the difference between that is sacrifice is giving away a part of yourself out of self-abandonment. Whereas just giving is a beautiful gift of loving yourself and caring about the other person's experience. So the major difference is that you, as a being, don't have to give anything up in relationship. And in fact, over a period of time, I find that you can give and receive more to one another. So allow for that to happen, right? Because there's always going to be this giving and receiving. What's important is for us to understand what is it that we can give to our partner and what is it that we can receive from our partner so that it's balanced, right? If two people are both always sacrificing themselves, well, it just sounds yuck, right? Like, just to be, like, to always sacrifice. Just notice what even that word, that phrase does to your system. It doesn't make the relationship feel enjoyable. It makes it feel like work, and like shitty work, like sacrificing work, like unpaid work. And relationship certainly does not have to be that. Learn how to give yourself everything that you want in a day. And not just things that you want, but like the best things that you want. And learn to teach your partner to also understand and respect that you're giving yourself these things out of love. And the way that you teach them to do that is by teaching them to give themselves the things that they want out of love as well. So this allowance of your interest, be it completely different than mine, is amazing. It's really welcome. So when we think about this giving and receiving, it's important to bring, softness in, to be able to be on the receiving end, to receive the gifts and the love of your partner. We need to let them in through softness. And the softness happens through oftentimes the heart and the pelvis region. And so I can give you a few examples today in my morning practice, knowing that Loa is coming back in the next few days. There was a deep, deep softening in my heart, because oftentimes when we're on our own, our masculine can be a little bit more present. And the reason for that is there's more taking care of ourselves, there's more like logic, planning, and strategy in everyday life, from business or work to taking care of the food, the laundry, the house, the car, the kids, the dog. There's this quality of like, I'm gonna hold a lot of my life, right, when you're on your own. And so naturally, more masculine tendencies can come up in all of us, which is beautiful, to be able to learn how to hold ourselves and hold ourselves in integrity. Now, the thing about the masculine is he can become quite rigid. And, I say he as in the reference to the masculine in all of us. But if the masculine becomes really rigid, it's harder to crack, harder to break in, break through, open up, right? And so maybe you've seen this somewhere. Someone who's very masculine, very rigid, not as soft of a heart. And so considering the masculine has, and male beings have their negative pole in their heart space. So we all have a negative and a positive pole. Anatomically, our positive pole for men is our cock or our lingam, and it is, anatomically the giving, the positive. Whereas our hearts would be the negative, the receiving. And vice versa for women, their yoni is the receiving, the negative pole, and their hearts and their breasts are the giving, the positive pole. And so for the masculine being who's on his own, who's quite rigid in his own experience, the process of softening through the heart is a softening to allow the other into that space, into my life, into my routines, my habits, into my rigidity, and allowing for that to soften as I allow her love in. And so this morning, my practice of yoga and breath, there was a deep experience of feeling, taking time to feel really deeply what it was that was in my field of awareness, what it was that was in my body, what it was that was on my heart. And there was a deep sadness around the devastating wildfires in Maui, which is a beautiful island that carries a really special place in my heart. And Maui had been really burned down, especially the place that I spent a lot of time, Lahaina. And there was tremendous amount of grief in my system, not only for the people and the infrastructure and the devastation that was carried along with that, but the feeling of the earth and the mother nature responding back, striking back, and just fighting for awareness. It's like she was fighting to be noticed, to be seen, to be remembered, for our connection to her. And I'm just going to continue to let myself feel this as emotions come out, and continue to stay soft in my heart, because humanity has pushed Mother Nature a lot. And these fires and all of the fires and the global warming and all of that is just a push back up against humanity. She's just leaning right up against everything that we've been putting pressure on. And I feel her, like the great her, crying in pain. And empathize with that. I have compassion for that. And it's deep. It's not a easy feeling to feel, because it's so sad. And it's so dear to my heart. And that's the process of opening the heart, right? It's sad because I love her so much. And the pain that she's in hurts. And for me to open my heart, to feel that pain, allows for unity and connection, oneness, and for opening in my own system, to not just be so rigid in my own routines, but also to take a moment to feel, to experience other people's or other beings or entities' pain. And blessings to everyone who's suffered from the wildfires. And I'll put a link to a charitable donation-based website in the show notes. I don't have one offhand, but I'll put one in there now, in case anyone wants to donate to that cause. The beautiful island of Maui. It's such a small island. And I can only imagine if the fires really start blowing, like how easily that whole island could just be swallowed up. And how scary that must be for the humans involved as well. And thank you for allowing me to have this moment on this podcast. It was unexpected. But I was feeling into that, and that process was allowing my heart to soften. And the remembrance this morning, hence the reason why I decided to record this specific podcast, was the beauty that's in that, the beautiful allowance of softening the heart, softening the negative pole to receive the other. And I can remember a time when Loa did a very similar thing with her body as well, when we had spent 4 months apart and she knew that we were preparing to come back together. She did a massive amount of body work, and like intense, hard body work, which is unusual for her. She's so soft and very malleable and penetrable usually, and she was telling me, I remember her saying, I could feel my body was preparing for you. My body was preparing to soften for you, to receive you. And it's such a beautiful act for us to find ways for us to soften for our future partner or our current partner, to receive more of them. And in that softness, there's understanding. In that softness, there's love. In that softness, there's fluidity. There's conversation. There's love-making. There's openness. If you got something from this podcast, I implore you to leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are, what stood out for you. If you care to leave us a review, if this was helpful, Apple Podcast is the best place to do that. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for allowing me to share my heart. Thank you for sharing this moment. What an amazing experience of life this is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, you beautiful souls. Thank you for listening to the Embodied Relationship podcast with Braedy Mac. I want to introduce to you a program for those of you who are in relationship, who are potentially married or just in a longer term relationship and might be feeling stuck or uncertain or simply craving more intimacy in your long-term relationship. The program that I would love to introduce to you is my signature program, which is the Embodied Relationship Council. And this is a journey where you get to embark on opening the heart and exploring the power of mindfulness, emotional healing, as well as the science of lasting connection. And it's not just about the spark, it's about creating conscious love that evolves over time and actually thrives with more time together. And so this is a space for a conversation for you and your partner to come together and to experience what it's like to grow together in love and understand the warm, loving embrace of each other's souls. Through the joys, through the challenges, we learn how to overcome all of this through conscious love. So if you're craving a love that really feels like home, a connection that nourishes your heart, I implore you to check out Embodied Relationship Council. And let's deep dive into your soul's growth, your soul's liberation, and the magic of conscious love together. If you're interested in joining the Embodied Relationship Council, click the link in the show notes, and I look forward to seeing your application come in. Peace and love, everybody.